Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage Panama Bartholomew, Policy Advisor to the Speaker of the California State Assembly and U.S. Greenbuilding Council Board Member.
Good morning. How's everybody doing today? You just saw Hillary Clinton and Bon Jovi. How's everybody doing today? Fantastic. Well, I am Panama Bartholomew. I'm a member of the U.S. Greenbuilding Council Board of Directors, and I'm pleased to welcome you to the Greenbuild Master Speaker Series session. Each year, USGBC invites inspiring speakers from our industry to come and talk to you as part of our Master Speakers at Greenbuild. Now, there are a lot of programs and a lot of different issues that are very important to the board that we go cover at Greenbuild, but few are as important to me and the board as how do we engage and really bring along our next generation of leaders within this industry to be able to continue the momentum that we've already developed over the first 20 years of our efforts. Now, many of you are familiar with our Emerging Professionals program with our community of chapters. Any emerging professionals out there? Fantastic. You guys are pretty fired up. And they really are the next generation of our leaders in the green building movement. And so because of that, and because our master speaker today is a great model for our emerging professionals, we thought it'd be important to have her introduced by one. So, this is the Master Speaker Series of some of our most inspiring speakers. It is an incredibly rare opportunity to be able to come up and also talk to your peers in a forum such as this with as many people in this. This is really a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. So if we could make the introductions and the welcome to the next two speakers really a once-in-a-lifetime welcome by giving uproarious applause and absolute crazy screaming as each one of them come onto the stage will make them a welcome to remember. So if you join me, please, in welcoming Michelle McEwen, who is the Marketing and Communications Director for the North Texas chapter of the USGBC and the Strategic Initiatives Chair for the USGBC Emerging Professionals National Committee. She'll be coming up to the stage to introduce our master speaker. Please give Michelle a crazy Greenbuild welcome.
Thank you for the introduction, Panama. Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle, and as an emerging professional, I am so very excited to introduce our next master speaker. This year, it is my honor to introduce Avery Bang, the Executive Director of Bridges to Prosperity. The daughter of a bridge engineer in Iowa, Avery found her calling on a semester abroad in Fiji. Bridges to Prosperity envisions a world where poverty caused by rural isolation no longer exists. Avery's team teaches communities to build safe footbridges across impassable rivers, bringing access to healthcare, education, and markets. Today, she's taking a break from her job teaching cable-supported bridge design at the University of Colorado and managing her nonprofit to be with us. I'm really looking forward to what I'm sure will be an inspiring discussion on sustainability, infrastructure, and poverty alleviation. So please join me in welcoming Avery Bang.
Testing. You guys hear me okay? Are we all awake? Last time was pretty exciting. Who else thought Hillary was incredible? Yeah! Hillary 2016, I'll keep it apolitical, but I'm Avery Bang. I'm Executive Director of Bridges to Prosperity, and I think Michelle did an incredible intro. But I'm here today to tell you a little bit about my story. And I hope through that thread we can kind of delve into the topics of what this story means perhaps to others, and how can you, as an emerging professional or someone who's a bit later in your career, find those things you're truly passionate about, maybe do something kind of as crazy as I'm doing. So why is my office in the middle of Nicaragua on a crazy pedestrian bridge? This was not an easy explanation to get from engineering school to here. But I think it's actually not altogether different for many of you in this room. Kind of started with Legos, right? Anyone seen like Goldilocks thing going viral right now? Google search Goldie Blocks. I promise you, you will not regret this. It is essentially it's a toy made for trying to get young women into engineering and architecture and the STEM fields. Way more interesting than Legos, I promise you. But we'll go back to my story. Legos. I liked the built environment. I like to build things, have them not work, have them fail. And the Barbie thing was so boring. It's like absolutely no way. So I liked the math and sciences, probably. Most people in this room did as well. Had a bit of inkling for art. So I entered into my undergraduate degree at the University of Iowa and couldn't decide. Do I do engineering? Do I do art? I'll do both. And that was quite a long journey. I can promise you, I've spoke to a few other people here today in the last few days, doing a liberal arts degree and a technical one. Oftentimes are told why would you do that? But I think it's been one of the most incredible opportunities that I've had is to think about things a bit more creatively in an engineering space and to be perhaps a bit, I'll call it linear in my art. But the true reality is I picked where to go to school for maybe all of the wrong reasons. It was who was going to allow me to kick that soccer ball and pay for me to do it. And it's a really incredible experience, I think, to go into a university, to be a university athlete, and to have that 40-hour work week running around. It at least keeps you in good shape. But it wasn't until I got involved in that extracurricular space, just like a lot of you here. It was through Engineers for a Sustainable World, bringing in USGBC speakers. It was doing things outside the classroom where I was like, okay, this I can start to get excited about. We'll say kind of excited. I'm passionate about everything I do. If I get a chance to speak with any of you guys afterwards, I perhaps am a bit overly excitable, but I really believe you have to love what you do. And if that's kicking a ball in a soccer field, if that's a painting, what have you, just really loving it. It's always been at the very core of who I am. So here I am, I'm 20, I'm like, what would you do besides move to Fiji? And I'm passionate, so move to Fiji and I'll figure out something interesting to do there. So studied abroad, I expected a lot of things like laying on the beach, maybe I'd find some interesting things to do. But that was the turning moment. For me, that was the moment when I first experienced the incredible privilege that I came from. I lived in and with a community where the simplest things in my reality back in Iowa were absolutely not simple and absolutely not available and absolutely not taken for granted. There were no paved roads in a couple of the islands. No potable water sources outside the capital at that time. Electricity, certainly there was no grid. And I had this opportunity to go to this small island, Taveuni. If you ever traveled to Fiji, write this down. Taveuni is incredible. And I came across a bridge. It was a little bit of a eureka, a little bit of a, I get this, because this bridge provided access for over half of the population living on the other side of a river. So you think about your island, and you have a major outlet from the mountainous region, and a bunch of people living on this side, a bunch of people living on that side, and this is where the market was. This is the place where the health clinic was and where the secondary school. So if you happen to be born over here and not over here, switch that around, over here, not over here, your life was completely different. And it took me back, and I was kind of thinking to myself, well, what if I was born here? If I were to be born tomorrow, and today I wear a veil on my face, where is it that I want to be born, and what kind of equity, and what kind of services would I expect if I didn't know if I was going to be born into a middle-class, Midwestern family? If I didn't know if I was going to be male or female? If I didn't know what religion I was going to be born into, or if I was going to be physically capable or able or mentally able. What are some of those simple things that we all believe are human rights? For me, it was I would want to live in a world where I at least could get access to the things that I know exist. Those things right on the other side of that river are not half a world away. It's not trying to jump in to the middle of Fiji and tell them, well, you don't have your iPad. Well, here you go, you need an iPad. Because they don't know that they don't have an iPad. But they know that they don't have health clinics. And they know that they are stuck at primary school because the secondary school is out of reach. So I came home. I kind of consider myself a new person. I, in fact, did not finish my last year of soccer, which was a really incredibly difficult thing for me to do. But instead, I've tracked down the only organization in the world that builds bridges. And I called the guy. I was like, hi, I'm Avery. I'm a student, and I want to build a bridge. And the founder, Ken, was like, oh, that's great, interesting. No thanks, click. Ken, hi, this is Avery again. I really think I can build a bridge. I've got a group together, which was only half true at the time, and I've got this great advisor at Iowa. He totally will support this. Yeah, that's not part of our mission. Bridges to Prosperity is about working in communities. We don't take students. Third time's charm, right? Ken, I promise you, I can build this bridge. This is going to be pretty nuts. I'm going to pull this off, and it's going to be an add-on, a value add to your program. So he's like, wow, who is this girl? Yeah, fine, I'll do it. And I got on a plane with now 4 of my best friends. And this was the project that Bridges to Prosperity picked for us to work on. It's deep in the Peruvian Andes, where, in this case, they braided vines. And there's 2, so you can see you walk across the one, and you're holding on to the other. And this pile of rocks is only there during the dry season. And during the wet season, that river cascades beyond picture view. So I came in and was like, oh, this is great site. This organization's wonderful. They have people on the ground. Their entire model is about community. This is perfect. And that's where it could have all ended. In that trip, on that very first flight out there, I wasn't even building. I was still figuring out left from right. I made a few unfortunate decisions, and I ended up having an assault rather. And I don't normally talk about this part, but my colleague and I ended up getting taken down, and in a bout of thinking I was stronger, I'm the one that's pinned with the rusty gold knife. And in that moment, you're worried about your passport that's in your, tucked away, that's now gone, and your credit cards and what have you. And my colleague that's crying. And you think about, what am I doing? What am I doing halfway across the world that makes me feel like I need to get on an airplane and go save the Peruvians, because I'm not saving any Peruvians here. And it all kind of came back. And in the moment, and more in hindsight, probably then, is that adrenaline response. I now realize that was a big turning point for me, because I had a choice. It's not altruistic. It's not all about bridges. But this is a systemic issue. If I'm going into a community and I'm targeted as a gringo, I think I present something of an opportunity. And that opportunity is not personal. I didn't tell these guys that I'm the target, come find me, although I did make a couple of dumb decisions. But I think more importantly, there is an opportunity with me to come and to perhaps pillage my resources, but because there's a major inequality. And that inequality is something that takes a lot of time and a lot of effort to change. But it's not going to be me flying in from the University of Iowa and being like, hi, I'm going to make change. It's going to be about community. going to be about building community and building trust and building the kind of opportunity for those guys that I had. So, the story continues. Are you guys excited? We built the bridge. We did go back. My mom was not happy at that point in my life that I persevered. But this was a very personal project. This became a community involvement. This became not being spiteful. This became a lot about how can we empower community here, and even if it's on one project, on one thing, make sure in every moment, in every decision, this is not about me. This is about how are we able to empower and lift the community where I'm working. So step by step, there might be some progressive change. I like to say I found the purpose. I'm passionate, immense amount of passion. But I found that purpose. And I think the mix of the two is pretty powerful. So I'd like to share with you guys this morning a bit about the passion, the purpose, and the people. I'd like to make the argument that all three in a perfect storm can really make global change. So this is Bridges to Prosperity's founding story. I think it's pretty powerful as well, beyond my own. Deep in the highlands of Ethiopia, between the regions of Gondar and Gojam, over the Blue Nile, there is a multi-span arch bridge built by the Portuguese in the 1400s. And in this particular case, it's over a day walk to the south and several day walk to the north for any other bridge crossing. So, in 1938, when the Italian invasion was crossing through, what do? You destruct the bridge. So the Ethiopian population right there cut out that section by chiseling it away. And since 1938, the only way to cross the Nile in this particular location is to get 6 of your best friends on either side of the span and hold onto a rope and hold on really tight. Pretty nuts. So our founder saw this photo in a National Geographic. It's like, hey, I can build a bridge. That can't be that hard. I'll fly over to Ethiopia and I'll make a solution. And our first story of failure as an organization was building a bridge in that site that was a steel arch bridge. Just as a lot of you would think, you'd kind of mortar that up, stick an arch bridge on it, and be like, we're done. Well, you know what we didn't know is that the government put in a dam that they didn't know how to control properly, and they sent a tidal wave down a year and a half later, bridge gone. What do? You built the bridge. You told your donor you built the bridge. You tried. Well, this is a story of perseverance. Our founder put it upon himself to say, why are there no organizations focused on this lack of access? He hired some folks, sent them to Nepal, and learned how to build these hammock bridges. And in 2009, by the time I was on the team, he said, Avery, I need you to go back in to this place where we promised the community we were going to build a bridge. Because really, the promise wasn't the bridge, it was that safe access. And it was the promise that the work that we're doing is not about today. It's about what's there in 10 years and what's there in 20. So as an organization, we were really founded on failure. And it's a big part of our ethos. How can we always be acknowledging the things we do well, but more importantly, discussing and being open and transparent about the things that we don't? So I got to spend 6 weeks in a tent with my awful Amharic and being the only, what they call Ferengi, which is a Mzungu or a Gringo, and built this 300-foot-long span with all local labor, all local engineering, and all materials that were walked in on site. I'll show you a picture of that later. But this is not an issue that I believe to be narrowed target focus. There are communities and places like this around the world, and like this, where communities will try to find a solution, And a lot of times other organizations will too. I'll come in, I can build you guys a bridge. Or I can put it in a cable. But these built solutions are often temporary, and they're always in the short term. Often in the short term, rather. Instead of putting in something like you all do, that we're thinking on the 30-year horizon. What's going to be there? What's a good solution that's not just for today? Would you cross that? It's a great question. But we see these all the time. Got a colleague of mine here from Panama that's building bridges, and I'm sure he could tell you firsthand he sees these all the time. It's not the lack of want. It's not the lack of need. It's the lack of technology. It's about kids getting to school. And when they have a bridge that maybe fails, like this one in Indonesia, you still cross it. And if you have a market to get to, and you need to take your agricultural goods, you really hope that river is low, because you're still going to cross it. And if there's alligators, crocodiles, you're still going to cross it. So for me, this is not a targeted challenge. This is something that has global importance, even right here at home. That lack of simple pedestrian access, I believe to be incredibly debilitating. So why footbridges? Why do I work in a space where I'm not worried about can the car get across? Well, it improves access, so more people getting to healthcare clinics, more people getting to school, certainly increases in traffic, which show that people are willing to go out of their way to use these structures. But to me, it's a bit more about thinking about yourself in the walking world. You walk to school. You walk to your job. Why would you need a big vehicle bridge to walk to all of your things? And I think it's so great, and something I'm so honored to be here at USGBC, is that you guys are very intentional about community and the new accreditation for LEED in communities and having the ability to get from A to B and what's that transit is a really important thing to think about. If you're having to on a car to get to a building, that's obviously something to think about. But in the case of a rural community, how are you going to get to the, let's say, a healthcare clinic? It's got to be local. It's got to be something where your transportation solutions match the problem. And this is a global challenge. Bridges to Prosperity, we've currently built over 130 long-span cable bridges in 16 countries. And more importantly, are targeting to be the single resource hub and support system for all the people that want to build bridges. Local, other organizations, other people that are working for everything from the U.S. Navy Seabees to German Red Cross, all the way down. Our solutions are available online and can take you through step by step. So even if our staff don't have the opportunity to train folks on the ground, those resources of how to do this safe are available. Because our number one thing is we build to educate. This is not me, gringa, flying into Peru and feeling really good about the bridge I built. This is about empowering other people to build without you. It's about training programs in all of the countries where we work. Resource development. 600 odd pages of technical how-to design drawings. For the engineers out there, it's actually really, really cool. Some of the other people might think we're crazy. Of course, it's all translated into Spanish. We go through new training programs, also at the university level. And most importantly, we hire local contractors. Can we teach you to build these bridges and to have your own contracting business? Because I'm not going to build the 400 or 500,000 bridges that are needed around the world. But guys that are from the country and live in the region and like to build and want to do this kind of work, they will. Can you create a small business spin-off where we teach you for 2 years and you build bridges afterwards? That's our true success. We build to innovate. Like many of you, if you're not innovative, you're probably left behind. For us, innovation is cost efficient and locally appropriate. So I mentioned, how are we going to build something across the Blue Nile? It's 300 feet across. It's obviously not going to be a truss bridge unless I have a lot of money, or an arch bridge unless I have a lot of resources. So a cable bridge. How would you get cable to a site when the nearest place that you can drive a car is 15 miles away? I promise you it's not on a spool. It's you unspool it. And you get 80, this time, of your best friends to carry it 15 miles. And how do you dig, let's say 10 cubic meters of soil out of the ground? I promise you it's not a backhoe. It's a lot of back work and a lot of people, and ironically, a lot of times, a lot of women. Strength in women. And where are you going to be building with? Is it going to be the CMU blocks that you think are really great and high quality out of the capital city? Or is it likely going to be the stuff that you can build and make right there locally? So as an engineer or a designer, you have to think about these things, as all of you do. What are your materials? Where are they coming from? And perhaps for us, most relevantly, if I know they're going to be 800 PSI, how do I design around that? Repurpose materials. I hope this resonates with all of you, but a huge part of our program is going in and saying, how can we reduce our materials? What can we reuse that's existing? And most importantly, the vision is what can be repurposed our things right there in country. Really good example in Panama right now is the cable comes off the gantry cranes in the ports. That same cable gets used on the bridges around the country. The steel pipes that go into our towers are out of oil and gas. We've got some great relationships. Before they go and scrap the steel, can we use that as our tower material? Not only does that reduce our costs for being able to teach more people how to build bridges, but it also immensely reduces our environmental impact per bridge. And standardized designs. I think one of the big lessons learned for Bridges to Prosperity is I don't have the engineering manpower, the designers, I don't have enough people to think about a unique solution for hundreds of thousands of locations. But I do have the ability to come up with skeleton designs. For this type of scenario, start here. For this type of scenario, start here. Where are you in the world? Cambodia has a different fill out of that design than would Haiti, but start from the same place. And can we make those designs simple? Keep it simple, stupid? Anyone else heard that before? I love it. I think it's great. But it's keeping things as simple as possible and really thinking outside of the box. When we think innovative, a lot of times that introduces complexity. But is it not true the most difficult things to design are those that are simplest? And those kinds of solutions are going to be long-lasting and are going to be picked up locally. So where we started in Honduras with wood telephone poles, in Guatemala we were using tube steel. And in Nicaragua, a pipe section. End up being what I think are pretty incredibly sexy bridges. They're nice and sleek, but there's nothing on these things that is not absolutely necessary. And we build to inspire. This is really why I'm here today, and why I'm in the organization altogether, why it's so important that all of you involved in USGBC coming to Greenbuild every year is to find that inspiration and to hold on to it. We reach out through university programs. We've got universities around the world University of Iowa partnering with the University of Zambia. Notre Dame working with a local contingent in Nicaragua. We have chapters and clubs, maybe even a USGBC chapter. Hint. Industry teams. I've got a number of folks in this industry, construction, that go and actually do team building. Is it something that's an opportunity for your company to be able to brand your own project, have your own people, and to finish a project in 10 days? Because my staff are there to help build up where to build the project, to involve the community, to do all the underground work. And you come in and are able to really do the main points of construction. We inspire community members. Some of the most touching stories that I've had told to me in these communities are, no one thought we could build a bridge. It's a bit of a quintessential human intelligence thing, like we are able to cross that gorge, we're able to cross that river. I mean, for millennia, that's been something that's just, it's an obstacle. And if a community member can be part of building a bridge, that's not only there for them or for their kids, but they know that's going to be there for their grandchildren. It's a huge, immense amount of pride. Can you also build a school? Can we do some more housing? Most of the skills that we teach are very transferable. Not only can they be used on this bridge and other bridges, but they can be used in all sorts of construction projects elsewhere in the community. And I think you inspire young little guys. You get a lot of spectators that like to sit around. I do advise that you tape off the area, bring some police tape with you, because otherwise you see the excavation pits and they're like, hey, what are you doing? But it's one of my driving forces. Can you come into a community and as a collaborative partnership with the community members, community elders, really show that there's a huge amount of opportunity to do things to lift that community into a new space. And it starts with influencing and inspiring the little guys, like this guy. He's my favorite. Guys, it's all about the people. For all the passion in the world, and for as much purpose as you possibly can find, I promise you, if you don't have the right people on your team, and the right people as their partners, and the right understanding of the people that you're partnering with, it's all for naught. It's about the children for me. It's about the curiosity. It's about the community members that are able to build something that they didn't think possible. It's about innovative solutions for even folks here in the States saying, oh, I've never built a bridge. I don't know about that. I'm going down and building a bridge. It's about full communities being involved. Being able to say, wow, this thing moves. I don't know how I feel about it on day one, to like running across and saying, this is the coolest thing we've ever experienced on day 3. And I believe it has a lot to do with why we're successful, is how we engage communities. I'm going to show a quick video, and we'll roll that and I'll explain afterwards.
There's a lot of engineering that happened on the trip in building the bridge, but there's a lot that they don't teach you in school. Something that we may think looks good here, or a method that we may think, works in the U.S. differs from the views of the locals.
We are here to serve the community. We're not here to just impose all of our wishes. We need to be very flexible with the community. So that's what I've been telling myself.
My name is Garrett Sprouse, and I'm an environmental engineering student at the University of Colorado Boulder.
Hi, my name is Brian Webrecht, and I have my master's degree from University of Michigan and my undergraduate degree from Michigan State University in civil engineering.
Well, I've always wanted to help people in my life. Rather than going somewhere else and learning something, why not take what you've learned and take it somewhere else?
So I really like the travel aspect and the adventure that comes with it, and I really do want to help community with building a bridge.
Not only, I think, did we help them build a bridge, but they always had input on ways to make it easier for us. We always had input on ways to make it easier for them, and it was a very mutual relationship between us. It was a fantastic experience.
Even if I don't fully understand what people are saying, I enjoy spending time with them and trying to communicate with them and showing them that I care about them. They've just taken us as, everyday friends.
Right behind our house there was a soccer field. Almost every night we'd have some pickup soccer matches with all the local kids.
I really like the fact that they all like to dance and get together as a community and just, act a fool. In America, we're too reserved and too shy. But here I've just been able to let loose and just hang out.
There's this one individual named Angola. He joined us every day. He wasn't getting paid for it. He had to tend to his crops, but he always was there to help us. I felt a very strong sense of community there where everyone is trying to work for the stronger benefit of the community itself.
I really like the community and how people are always involved with each other's lives. It seems like they have a much better quality of life as far as relationships go.
We at the end, felt like we were part of the community.
Estamos nosotros muy felices, muy contentos somos con esa puente, muy alegre por lo menos con una fiestita también para alegrar a los jóvenes los que han trabajado en Estados Unidos.
We'd been preparing all year to go do that project, and being able to go there, do it, finish it, complete it, and celebrate it was an amazing experience. That was by far the best point of the trip. Clemente was great. He was kind of like the head mason. He was very, very helpful, an extremely, extremely nice individual.
Sí, yo me siento feliz trabajar con los ingenieros. Para mí es trabajar con puentes para la prosperidad. No sé, me siento que es una familia, ¿no? Como si fuéramos hermanos. Con los ingenieros de Estados Unidos y bolivianos. Todo el mundo somos iguales. Todos igual.
So it's all about the people. It's the Clementes. Investing in him as a Mason, making him an equal partner. For us, it's about the communities. It's about the students. And I think, all in all, it's good for business. I think socially responsible involvement is something that is good for you on an individual level. It's good for companies. And I spent a lot of time more on the engineering side of things, talking with folks about why there's value add to working on projects that don't have a direct return to your bottom line. And I think all of you guys have had the same uphill challenge. Explaining that the work that you're doing, in fact, is not tangential, but very much center thread to being able to get to where you want to be. We talk about it for leadership development, personal development. Being able to bring teams in and have a group from 5 different offices work on a project before they go into perhaps the real game. Immensely beneficial team building. Being able to say as a person or as a company that I'm involved in something I believe in, like USGBC, speaks volumes for folks when they're trying to figure out where to go to find employment. And I was asked to speak to some of you that are maybe more on the Gen X side of things about how to find that passion and what companies and what kinds of trajectories to go to. And I think it's really interesting is a lot of times we think of our personal lives and our professional lives as disparate. Is it possible to integrate the two? to find companies that really exude the ethos of who you are and who you want to be. And to be able to say that what you're doing at work and what you're doing at home are integrated. I think a lot of companies, certainly in this industry, in this room, have realized that. But as young emerging professionals, I think don't sacrifice your passion or your sense of purpose just because you feel like you need to climb a corporate ladder. I don't believe that those two things need to be mutually exclusive. I think finding a company or a group or a nonprofit, for that matter, that really speaks to you is immensely valuable. I mean, I went and created a job for myself, and I certainly don't encourage most of you to do that, but I do think that there's a lesson there. I could have waited until I had the money. I could have waited until I really had the time. But why not now? And why not today? Why not go build a bridge in Nicaragua? It's pretty fun, I promise. So, how to get involved? There are asks. I'd love for some of you to be bridge builders. I need designers. I need folks that think in terms of materials. I need logistics. I need engineering. Maybe one of your chapters would like to take on a project. Spread the word. Bridges to Prosperity is the only organization doing this in a global way. And I believe that without collaboration and good partnerships, we are just a small, small fish in a big, big pond. We're trying to reach out and find more effective and better ways to leverage partnerships. And lastly, one of our strategic priorities in the next 2 years is to look at what it would take to move into the United States. I think there's communities that are isolated right here at home. And I'm going to reach out to each of you, maybe not specifically each of you, but I'm going to be reaching out and asking for support. As we look at Denver, I kind of know the community, but beyond I don't. Are there communities right here at home that also could benefit from that pedestrian and that bike access, that oftentimes the existing solutions are immensely expensive and over-designed? So with that, I'd like to extend an incredibly huge thank you to USGBC and Greenbuild. Your team is awesome. Real quick round of applause for the conference these guys put together. Yeah, awesome, right? And a quick thank you to some of my corporate partners, some of whom are represented here in the room today. So with that, I've got, I think, about 2 extra minutes plus maybe some other question and answer time. So I was hoping to create a dialogue, and Panama is going to help me out.
But before we do that, folks, can we give a big Greenbuild thank you to Avery? So Avery, on behalf of the board, thank you so much for bringing your inspiring story, your crucial work, and your beautiful images. You've definitely made it a better Greenbuild for your participation. So thank you very much.
Appreciate that.
We got time for some questions and answers. We want to make sure that we're recording this for Avery's mom so that she can see it.
Hey, Mom.
So so please, if you have a question for Avery, please go to one of the 2 mics and come on up and ask a question.
I guess I'm first. Avery, thank you so much for sharing your incredibly inspiring story, and I commend you for your fantastic work.
Thank you.
Yes. I would just like you to share a little bit about how you approach these communities and build the relationship initially.
Awesome.
Because, I mean, I bet they might not believe you right away.
Yeah, it's a great question. The very base of our model is the fact that you need to have people living, working, and thinking bridges in the area where you're going to work. So for my staff in Haiti, he's living an inch, and he's partnering with organizations in that central region who, in this case, do healthcare, and talking with them. Where are bridges needed that you've seen? Where are communities that have been talking about bridges? And then whenever it's possible, which it's not always, we try to work with the local governmental agencies So being able to go in and empower municipal government and saying, where are the bridges that you want to build? And here's the deal. I'll build one of those bridges, but you're going to come with me and you're going to learn how to do it. And bridge number 2, you're going to build. So a lot of times it's at that level, we'll maybe survey 40 to 50 sites, hopefully not more, to build 3 or 4. So you're visiting a lot of communities, and you're going to a lot of places where maybe a municipality says this is a high priority, and the reality is it's 3 miles across. You're like, I don't know where the bridge would go. Or a lot of times it's just a simple local solution. A big log could really cross, and there's no reason to build something that's overly complicated. And the other part is, what is the community bringing to the table? So if the community is not willing to contribute labor, bring in the local materials, so sand, gravel, that kind of stuff, and really say this is a priority within their existing leadership structure. So usually a community has leadership, chief, so to speak. If you guys would rather have a potable water source, then work with the potable water source guys. If you have prioritized a school, then you need to get that school before we really should work with you. So it's got to be a mixture of priorities, investment, and also buy-in from the municipal government. Again, I'm making major drastic assumptions. All of our countries are very different. Some countries you don't work with munis. Some countries you can't possibly get volunteer labor. So.
Great. Next question.
Hi, Avery. That was so inspirational, and you're lifting up the lives of people, and especially the lives of women. And I'd love for you to talk a little bit more. You're such an inspiration to young girls and women. What would you say to a teenage girl today who was thinking of following in your footsteps, studying engineering, or what would you say to a mother like myself with a younger girl, and to inspire them?
I think it starts with the toys. I really do. I'm like that auntie that sends out, kind of the gender-neutral gifts, and like, oh, that's a pink toolbox. Interesting. Okay, so there's but I think it's a lot about, from very young age all the way up, is just exposure. And in my experience, it was certainly a benefit to have a dad that was an engineer, but it was really my mom that led this career path for me. It was telling me I could be whoever I wanted to be, and I could do whatever it is I want to do, was immensely valuable. Be passionate about your career path, because not everyone has the fortune to be able to do that. So I think, positive reinforcement and exposure to all kinds of interesting things. Anyone that likes bridges, my dad used to take us on visits to public works projects for holidays. Also a really, really good way to get your kid to think about public works. Just saying.
Great. Next question right over here.
Thank you so much for your enthusiasm. I think that's what I've loved most about your presentation out of all that I've seen this week. My question, you talk about spreading the word. When someone comes and I talk to them about the project that you guys do, but they say, I'm not an engineer or a designer, or I can't help on the ground, what else could you do from a student standpoint or through funding? How else can we support your organization?
So glad you asked. There's kind of, especially at a student level, there's a really great opportunity to come and build a bridge and do a project. But we do ask folks to fundraise for us. So we've got an online platform where if you want to take on the responsibility for supporting a bridge and getting your networks and your friends and family to do so as well, it's a really cool interface. You get to pick your bridge site and so on and so forth. But we do. We are a 501c3 nonprofit and always looking for support. And a big part of why I come out and meet with everyone is just trying to come up with innovative new ways to keep that revenue supporting the effort. Thanks for asking.
And the next question.
Hi, Avery. Thank you very much for your story. It's great to see your passion. I was more curious about what happens after you built the bridges and you've left the communities. Have you ever had a situation where a bridge has needed repair? Is the community able to repair the bridge by itself? Does it have that infrastructure set up?
Great. So we look at this in kind of three components. One is your making sure the bridge is up and safe. That's like your evaluative metric. And second is going to be, are people using it? And third is like, is the structure having maintenance done? Speaking specifically to maintenance, we have any bridge project, we end up leaving behind a little tiny manual of things that a community needs to be able to replace. The way the structures are designed, it's very like, deck boards come up, there's your cross beam. We're literally using rebar that's hooked over to connect the cables. So all materials that are locally available. And for those of you that have worked in some of these communities know, that doesn't mean your job's over. We also have an inspection program that every 3 years we send back an engineering team to do kind of a mass overhaul going through, and if we find things that need to be done at a larger level, for example, like you're seeing cable slip and you expect that anchor might have moved, or a lot of times, actually most of the time, if it's going to be an issue, you're having an issue on rivers being slightly renavigated, so you have to add gabions, that sort of thing. Then we plan and send a re-implementation team back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any final questions for Avery? Your last chance up while she's up on stage. Is that somebody? Great.
Thank you, Avery. My question is, where can we see what projects are coming up in the near future?
Great question. Our website is a nice interface where it's got a map, and you can see from depending what country you're interested in. If you've got a passion for Haiti, zoom in on Haiti. You can see our completed projects, and then projects that are in consideration are also usually 1 to 2 per country. We obviously have a database that's much bigger, but those are usually the high-need projects where we're still trying to sort out the financial side. So bridges2prosperity.org and the big map. And also, I would love to stay after. An associate of mine, John, and I will be outside the hall, and we'd love to talk with each of you or any of you, just to hear more about your story and what brings you here, and perhaps a bit about bridges. So, maybe we got one more? Yeah.
Just a quick question about Fiji, because we hear that the locals there do not have potable water because a U.S. company has, a lease on the aquifer there. Or did you have any luck building a bridge for them and helping them out?
That's a great question. I haven't had any success or, quite honestly, any attempts in Fiji. It's on my big world picture want-to-do list, but because we don't build bridges in places where we don't have staffed training programs, it's a huge investment for me to send a new program into Fiji. 10-year plan? Yeah. It's beautiful. Anyone should go there. All right. I'd like to thank everyone. You guys are a wonderful audience. Appreciate getting up the morning after Hillary and Bon Jovi. So.